Hello and welcome back. Today we're finally going to be putting the truncator into a server chassis. This has been a long-awaited project for me, but I finally have everything I need to complete it, and then eventually I'll get a USB Type-C connector to run just one cable from the server, or the gaming computer, to where I sit, or my client station, whatever you want to call it. But for now, let's go ahead and just open up all this stuff that I have. It's actually not that much. So this right here should be the rails for the server chassis, which I will show you guys here shortly. Oh, actually, this was way easier to open. There's really not much to this, but I figured we could check it out anyway. Wow, this big box for literally nothing, or almost nothing. This box is actually destroyed already. So these are the rails themselves. These are adjustable to any height, or I'm sorry, not height, but any length. They're all black. They're like 20 bucks off of Amazon. A pretty sweet deal. Maybe some aluminum. You could definitely bend these. Actually, I already have. But they should be strong enough anyway to hold up the server. So the reason why I got these rails is the rails that are supposed to go with the server actually end up scratching the server up along the side. At least that's what other people said. So I wanted some rails where I didn't have to worry about the server getting scratched. And basically I can just set the server chassis right on top of this because of the way they're designed, and I don't have to worry about scratching the server if I pull it out or retract it back inside. So that should keep it looking pretty good for a long time. And if I have to remove it, well, it just simply just lift it up and you're good to go. So those are the rails. Really not much to that. And then of course, we're going to be switching to a 360 millimeter all-in-one cooler. I got this really because there's two options, maybe three options as far as coolers go. This had a lot of good reviews. I didn't really read too much or too many bad things about it. I think it's pretty much luck of the draw on that one, so I just went with this. And there's really no other reason beyond that. Now I suppose I could have done a custom water cooling loop or something, but honestly, I don't really want to take the time to do that, and this will just simply cool the CPU, so there's really no need to do a custom loop, although it would be pretty cool. So this Thermaltake radiator, it comes with 3 fans. We're not going to use these. I already have my own. These are probably pretty good, but I don't need them. These are all PWM, which is kind of nice to see, and they have some pretty nice sleeving, but again, pretty much worthless to me. Let's see here. So these are mounting brackets and screws, and then of course the 360 millimeter rad. This thing should do a really good job of cooling my 5960X. I could probably overclock the crap out of it, and yeah, I don't really know what else there is to say about that, so we're just stick it back in here for now, and then we're going to unbox the server chassis. So I decided to go with a Rosewill 4U server chassis, primarily because it was the only chassis that I could find that readily supported internal fans and that looked like it could support a radiator. And based off some other pictures I've seen online, it looked like other people had also already been putting in radiators into the server chassis, albeit they were, smaller radiators, like 120 millimeter ones or 240. Yeah, it seems right. So this thing, there's a lot of boxes in here. Just gonna move this down to the floor here so it's a little bit easier to work with and extract from the box, the shipping boxes. Alright. So hopefully I can just lift this right up. And this isn't really that heavy. I guess it's pretty heavy. So this looks like it's going to be a lot bigger than I was hoping, but that's actually okay because knowing myself, I will probably end up changing my server configuration in the future anyway, and this will keep me happy for a little while, or at least the equipment I have will keep me happy for a little while. Let's go ahead and remove all that. So the reason why I really like this case is because of 3 fans in front. So I'm probably going to move this door because I don't really care for the way it looks. This is actually seems pretty high quality compared to what a lot of people are saying online. So we're going to replace these 3 fans here, probably with some white LED ones, and of course put the entire gaming computer into this. And it should look, well, it's not really going to look very cool, at least for us, because it'll be in the closet anyway. But once it's in here, it should turn out to be a pretty nice build. Okay, so just taking a quick look on the inside, this is where, actually, I don't even know what this is, but this is where the radiator will hopefully mount on the inside. That way, it'll be really close to the CPU, and I don't have to stretch those cables out, even though they look plenty long. Let's go ahead and see what's in here. These are probably just more screws and things. Oh, these are for hard drives. It's like a bunch of hard drive screws and some mounting hardware and a speaker wire. That's pretty interesting. Never seen one of those before. So yeah, this should fit perfectly. This can fit everything from an eATX board to a micro ATX board, maybe even ITX. But as you can tell, we got a lot of stuff we need to remove. We need to remove these internal fans here. We need to remove these drive cages and these rear fans right here. So I'm not really sure what this is for. I couldn't even begin to guess, to be honest. There's a manual somewhere around here. But we're just going to kind of ignore that for right now. And in no particular order, I'm going to have to start removing some of this stuff. Not really even sure to how the best way to go about this, because again, I haven't looked at a manual or anything. Just going to kind of wing it like usual. And that usually yields pretty good results. At least it has always in the past. I'm pretty excited about this case. I've had my eye on it for quite some time, at least 2 years. Now, these screws are really in here. So I've had my eye on this for at least 2 years, maybe more. Ever since I got the rack, it's really made me want to put my gaming computer onto that rack and make my gaming computer more into like a server or something of that nature. I have no idea how to remove these. These things are in there tight. Okay, so maybe we will just leave those in there because I don't need them anyway. I don't plan on putting any drives here as I only have an NVMe slot, but we will, okay, I see now. So I can remove this actual piece by unscrewing it from the outside of the case. Not necessarily the best case design ever. In fact, the top plate had to be removed, I'm missing a screw over here, had to be removed by unscrewing at least 5 different spots on the chassis itself. 2 in the front and maybe 2 in the rear, and I think on the sides as well. Honestly, I just did it so quickly I didn't really even notice that I was doing it. But that wasn't too bad. That came right out. Maybe we should do a test fit to make sure that the radiator will actually fit here. I'm starting to see a problem already where the spacing is off. And what's actually kind of nice, it looks like you can fit 80mm fans here as well. So if you had a smaller radiator, you could fit that. All right, let's go ahead and remove these fans and see what happens with the radiator. So you want to take a moment. So upon further inspection here, it actually looks like the radiator does not line up with the mounting holes. See if I can show you what I mean. There we go. So upon further inspection, it actually looks like only 4 of the pre-drilled holes through this bracket piece here line up with the radiator, which is, I guess, to be expected, because it wasn't probably intended for this kind of work to be done. But I think I may be able to make this work anyway, with a little bit of modification on my own. Maybe. It looks like, really it only looks like I can get 4 holes to match up with these at any point, but I'm pretty sure I can pre-cut some other holes with my Dremel. We'll see if that needs to be done, and I will probably do a pull configuration versus a push configuration on this. But we'll see what happens from there, but obviously I'm gonna have to put the 30 or 360 millimeter radiator, something like this, so that these are back there. And this obviously isn't the optimal configuration because typically you want this to be up or towards outer space, I suppose. But let's go ahead and prepare for that venture. Now, I'm sure a lot of times people like do a lot of research before they try to do things like this, and I will say I've had my fair share of research. I probably didn't do as good of a job as I could have, but this will work out anyway. There's definitely plenty of options I have for, wow, just keep dropping screws on the ground. There are definitely plenty of options I have to make this work. There's tons of places to mount all sorts of things, whether it be fans or the motherboards itself, but there's literally tiny little holes all over this that are pre-drilled, where if you were doing a custom build and you had maybe a reservoir that you wanted on the side right here, obviously that's probably not a good idea because your power supply would go right here, but like even over here there's little spaces all over the place where you could mount a reservoir, or you could mount other things. Maybe you wanted 2 reservoirs. You could have one here and one there. Maybe you wanted 2 radiators. You could mount a 120 here, 120 here, and another 120 here, or you could do what I'm doing and do just one big rad and make a closed loop or between a GPU and your CPU. And what's great about this is there's plenty of space. So you could fit 3 dual space graphics cards if you wanted, and still have room for a single slot thing, like maybe a 10 gig NIC card or something. So this is actually a pretty nice case. Now, I think that this is here for structural support. That's the only thing I can think of. This has definitely got some aluminum residue all over it. I'm seeing these little flakes all over my hands, probably from when they cut this thing. But that's all right. You know, I'm not worried about getting cut anywhere except maybe right here. It looks like everything's folded pretty well except where the power supply would go. So all I have to do is remove the gaming computer. I'm actually not going to show this part on camera, but I just want to show you where it's at on the rack. I've already just pulled it out a little bit so I can work with it. But let's go ahead and get this thing off of here and take it apart. So this Corsair Air 240 case has served me pretty well in the past. I did a video a very long time ago about when I first started out, where I actually had 3 radiators inside of this tiny case. I had 2 120 millimeters at the front, and then another 120 millimeter at the back. And of course, one was for the CPU, and I had 2 GPUs at the time, 2 Titan X's in fact, that were both water cooled from EVGA in here. So this thing has been with me for quite some time, but it's about time now to give it a little bit more space and a little bit more room to breathe, and higher overclocks, of course. So we're just going to go ahead and start dismantling it. I've already moved one side panel case, and I'm just going to have to remove the rest of them. So this chassis has actually been kind of a mess on this side, and I'll show you the rat's nest that is back here. Hopefully I won't have that problem with the server. Actually, I shouldn't say hopefully. I should clean it up and actually try. One thing I do like about the Corsair H240 is all the different options you have to mount fans. So I actually have some of my own custom, or not custom, but I have my own filters on here. They've basically been here for quite some time. I bought these off Amazon forever ago. These were nice to have, so that way I didn't have to worry about dust building up all over the place inside of the case. And they've done a pretty good job, and in fact, they're still pretty clean to this day. So I've never cleaned these, but as you can tell, there's very little dust buildup from this. Of course, that's where it was exhausting. And the front, there's actually a lot more dust buildup, I'm sure, but that's okay. So we just gotta remove tons and tons of fans out of here. I think at one point I had 12 fans inside of this chassis, which is kind of amazing to think about. And of the 12 fans, I think 10 maybe were 120 millimeter fans. I don't actually remember, but basically I had a dual push-pull configuration for all of the radiators when they were in here originally, but I've since cut back, obviously because that kind of configuration is not exactly necessary. At least it wasn't at the time, but I did it anyway, just more of a just because reason, more so than anything. So let's go ahead and get this thing swiveled around real quick so you can see the back side. So as you can tell, there's obviously a rat's nest in here. I didn't really do a good job of cleaning this up, and the reason why there's so many extra cables is because originally there was 2 Titans in here, and it was really difficult to remove all the excess cables because I already had cable managed everything, and I didn't want to take it all apart. I just wanted to slap in my new Titan Pascal and, you know, have a field day with it. I didn't really want to play around with all the cable management. So we've got some work ahead of us to do. I suppose I should just go ahead and actually try removing everything that's going to be in my way as far as removing the motherboard from this case. So I've actually got kind of lost already in here as I'm sitting here trying to remove one of the fans. And what's really bad is I'm using a lot of fan splitters. And the reason why I'm using fan splitters is because I can have, instead of having a bunch of cables all over the motherboard, I can just have 1 or 2, and of course the PWM fans. So that way it looks a little bit cleaner on the inside, and all of the mess obviously can be hidden back here without anyone noticing. That's probably going to change today. So these are airflow optimized fans. I do have static pressure ones in here, but we will remove those here shortly. So I think I'm just going to leave all this and remove everything in here first. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and remove the Titan X out of here first because it's the easiest to access, obviously, and it should be also the easiest to remove. Now, this Titan has been one of the best cards I've ever had. It absolutely destroys every game I've ever thrown at it. Totally high settings, maxed out everything, you name it, can handle the card or game, 60 FPS, no problem. Removing everything else should be quite the breeze. Obviously, I have pretty good access to everything. The Corsair H100i is what's been in here for quite some time. I would carry this over to the new chassis, but I have a feeling that the 360mm rad will do a little bit better job of cooling the CPU, which is a 5960X, by the way. I don't actually expect it to be that much of a performance difference, or I'm sorry, I don't expect it to be that much of a difference in heat dissipation or changing my thermals that much, but it should be improved because there is more space for heat dissipation. So I don't think I need to remove the RAM, but I do need to clean up the CPU, and I need to get my isopropyl. So let me grab that real quick. So removing this board should be fairly easy. I don't anticipate too many problems with it because I have pretty good access from the back as well as the side, I suppose, or rear. I'm not sure what you want to call it. But let me clean this up before we start removing anything because I don't want to make a mess. And gotta clean the radiator, gotta clean the copper base plate real quick. So that way, when it touches other things, I don't have to worry about leaving thermal paste all over the desk, even though I put the cotton balls on the desk itself. So it'd probably help a little bit if I actually unplug this from the rear. But for now, I'm just gonna unplug everything I can. I'll try to. Jeez, these things are in here good. I haven't had to remove a 24-pin connector in quite some time. Luckily, everything else is easily removed from the chassis, or from the motherboard, including all the fans. Alright, so all that's out of the way. Oh, gotta remove my Be Quiet 80mm fan. I've had this for some time. This is actually try to do a, maybe not really a comparison per se, but I actually did try to see if the Be Quiet fan was slightly better than a Noctua fan. I do have 80mm Noctua fans somewhere around here. They may actually be, oh yeah, that's right. They're in one of the servers, as you may recall from a previous video. And they do a much better job, actually, than these Be Quiet fans. So I'll probably carry this one over and maybe get a second, or just purchase 2 other Noctua fans. I haven't really decided, but I will be carrying this over, at least temporarily, into the server chassis because I have it, and oh, might as well use it, right? So we just got the CPU power to remove. This thing is surprisingly not dusty for how long it's been on. Now the outside of the case is dusty, but inside here it's not that bad. And I cannot remove this pin. There we go. Alright, so, well hell, I might as well just remove the motherboard because I have direct access to it, and I don't need, and everything's unplugged, so I can just leave the power supply back there. And let's see here. There are screws all over this place. All right. Thank goodness for these. Oh, just dropped a screw. Thank goodness for these magnetic tips, because man, back in the day, people would always tell you, oh, you can't have magnets in your computers, you'll destroy them, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's actually not so bad when they're powered off, of course. You know, maybe powered on's a different story, but unless you're putting a magnet next to CRT, I think you're going to be okay, especially considering most people don't have CRTs anymore. At least I haven't seen one in the last decade. Wow, I really put some of these in here pretty tight. I don't know why I screwed them down so tight. They don't need to be in there that tight. Alright, so we should be able to just pick this up right out of here and set it aside. Alright, she is out of the way. So I think I finally discovered how to remove these from the chassis, but there are like hundreds of screws all over the place holding these things in. I'm actually surprised I still haven't been able to remove one successfully yet. I have no idea what's holding it in anymore, even though I have it completely unscrewed as far as I can tell from everywhere. There are these little latches up top, but I can't seem to figure it out. Oh, it goes forward. Well, maybe that's why. Alright, so that wasn't actually too bad. I kind of like those forward-facing things. So I guess I am going to have to leave this in here if I want to use these front fans. And I guess I didn't have to unscrew every single thing to actually get to the fans. I could have just removed these 4 screws here and replaced the fan on the inside. Oops. Well, we will leave these here and put back all like 10 screws it took to remove this one thing. So I guess I'll work on that. Don't really need to see that go down, or at least you don't have to, because it won't take too long and it's kind of boring, to be honest. Okay, so we successfully removed all of the fans out of the front of this bracket / hard drive tray. So we just need to replace these stock fans with some white LEDs for coolness effect, and we should be good to go from there to complete the rest of the build. So the fans I'll be using to put inside of these brackets or fan mounts, whatever you want to call these, for the hard drive cage are going to be these Corsair 120s. I can't remember the exact model of these now, but these are in fact the high airflow version of their fans that they make, and they are white LEDs, which should look really nice in the front when you're looking at it. So we're just going to put 3 of these in each of these, and then we'll move on to the next part. So while I've been sitting in here screwing these fans, I forgot just how much I don't enjoy screwing in fans. Not that it's actually that bad of a thing to do, it's just a little bit, it takes a little bit of time, especially with the bigger screws. And, oh, there we go. I was wondering if I didn't get that in there right. But you know, it all works out in the end, but it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. This is actually kind of a neat little trick that I just figured out on how to get these fans in here. I don't know, I can't slide them in here because these are too thick to slide just right in here. And also these edges right here are a little sharp, so they were cutting one of my fans. But if I just drop it down in here to where the hard drives would go, it slides right on in, no problem. It stays there for the most part. And then I just gotta grab some screws and screw the bad boy down, and we are good to go. It's pretty simple, actually. So far, I'm actually liking this case. Thought it was gonna be a little bit more complicated when I saw the numerous places where there were to screw things in or unscrew things, whatever have you. But it's actually a lot more simple once you sit down and take a good minute to really analyze how everything is put together in its most basic form. So hopefully I put these fans facing the right direction, because it would suck to have to unscrew all 4 of these screws from each of the fans and start all the way over from the beginning. But one other thing I also like is it's pretty easy to slide these in here. I know that you saw me hammering away not too long ago, but it's not too difficult to get them in. It's just like awkward almost. I'm not sure what the right word is. They definitely fit. It just not really well. Of course, I was going to show you how painless it was, but now I can't even get it in, so maybe it's just facing the wrong way. Nope, definitely had it the right way. Okay, so apparently they do go in a certain direction. So I did manage to get this one in with a very, very, very minor force. And it fit right on in. So we just need to screw this back, or screw those back down. They're in there pretty snug, so I probably wouldn't have to use screws, but because the manufacturer gave me 1 billion of these screws, I'm gonna use them. And they are all sorts of colors and sizes. I think they're actually all the same. They just have some that are painted black or coated with some sort of black paint. And then they have others that are silver. Apparently that doesn't go there. Alright, I don't care. I'm just gonna screw all these in. Doesn't really matter anyway. I don't need any more exterior black screws. I just need this to be screwed in just so I can sleep a little better at night knowing that the fans are gonna suck themselves right out the front, or I guess technically they're pulling air in, so suck themselves inward towards the rest of the group. Whatever, doesn't matter. You get what I'm trying to say. I have the screws, may as well use them so I don't lose them. Because if I don't put them in here, they're gonna disappear and I'll never see them again. And I may need them again in the future. Never know. So I don't think I planned this out too well. I may have trouble reaching the CPU cooler from here and may actually end up having to reposition this somehow. These cables were, or I'm sorry, these pipes were a lot shorter than I anticipated. But just by looking at it, it may actually work, assuming the power supply doesn't take up the rest of the room that I need to actually get these pipes to, get the pump to the, whatever you call it. So all that's left to do now is mount the fans to this radiator, and I should be good to go. Well, I should be good enough to go as far as putting the motherboard in here in its most correct position, as well as putting the graphics card in here. So these fans are Corsair high static pressure fans. These are perfect for radiators. I did not get Noctua ones because I already have like 50 million of these fans laying around and I couldn't justify the cost. So we're just gonna go ahead and stick these on this radiator instead, and we should be good to go. It should be really easy to do, or the installation should be really easy to do. I've done this a few times in the past with, okay, maybe it's not easy to do because this thing's in the way. In retrospect, I probably should have mounted these fans on here first before I put the radiator in here, but whatever. It doesn't matter, I can maneuver around it. I've been building computers for longer than I'd like to admit, although you could probably tell I can make some pretty novice mistakes or moves from time to time. Heck, I should just remove this because it's shouldn't be too hard to do. Wow, that's in there tight. Alright. There, see? Problem solved. Now I can do whatever I need to do. Just leave that off to the side. So what's really nice is that this that Thermaltake gave us little washers for installing these fans. You don't really need them. I like to have them because it keeps you from drilling into the fins that are on the radiator. So that's really nice to have. It really prevents user error, which is always a plus, especially when you have people like me who just kind of go at it and don't really consider the consequences. Let me grab a couple more fans. What did I do with them? These things have stuff all over the place. So there looks like there's actually just enough screws here to only do either a push or a pull configuration. There doesn't seem to be enough screws and washers to do push and pull. Not that it really matters, but I know some people just for the aesthetics of it, or just because they like to have a push-pull configuration. In fact, on my Corsair H, on the Truncator build when it was inside of the Corsair Air 240, you could have seen that I did a push-pull configuration, and that's primarily because of the lighting. The front of the chassis was lit up by the high airflow white LED fans, and also the inside. And if I didn't have the option or enough screws to do a push-pull configuration, then I wouldn't have been able to light up the interior of the case, because Corsair actually gave you plenty of screws to do a push-pull configuration, which was really nice. Now I'm sure I could actually do it if I really had to. Looks like Thermaltake did give me 8 of these tiny little baby screws. However, you know, that's not even enough to screw into here 100% of the way. And they didn't even give me any extra washers, which isn't a big deal, but it would just been one of those nice to haves or could have haves type things. Wow, some of these are actually kind of hard to get in. There we go. So anyway, so far I'm liking these I cannot speak. This radiator so far, it is damn fine. Everything screws in really nice except for that last one. You know, you can't expect everything to be perfect, but whatever. It's good enough. Alright, and last but not least, and once we get this in here, we will pretty much be done with the radiator. This thing is really coming together really nicely. Okay, so let's clean up a little bit, and we're gonna drop in the motherboard. Okay, so I already put the I/O shield in its place, so I just have to line these up with the existing standoffs, and that's perfect. So there's only 4 standoffs here. I can only see 3 at the moment, so I'm not sure where the other ones are. There's actually more than 4. There's, I think, 6 total, but currently right now in this configuration, I am using 4, not 6. And, okay, I found all the holes, so we're just gonna screw this in, and we should be good to go from here. So everything pretty much fits damn near perfectly in here. I'm pretty happy with this server chassis already. It looks like the standoffs are threaded a little funny, or maybe I'm not using the right screws or something. So we'll just ignore that one for now and try another one. No, for some reason they might be using a different thread. So I guess we will have to resort to the manufacturer provided bag, wherever the hell I put that at. So I take back some of the negative comments I made about there only being 6 standoffs. It looks like they actually provided a bit more. I don't know exactly where on my motherboard the rest of the standoffs go or screw in, so I'm just gonna kind of randomly place these and hope that I get it in here correctly. And plus, I don't like losing standoffs, so it's just nice to be able to have the option of adding these, or not losing these. But I'm glad they included more, and you know, installation of these things is a breeze, and removing them is also a breeze. And it looks like they also did provide some motherboard mounts as well. Okay, so let's try this again. Alright, so I actually did misplace a couple of these standoffs, so I'm actually going to move these real quick while I can. What's really nice is that it's already raised. Or I'm sorry, you don't have to do anything fancy to get these things in here. I think that one was here. Alright, let's try this one more time. Perfect. And it looks like there's room for one more right there, so we are going to move this one and stick it over here, if I can. Of course, that one doesn't go in nice, but it is in now, so... Oh wow, I still misplaced it. Poor memory on my part. We're going to get this right eventually. Might take, you know, a few 100 tries, but I'll still get it. and it slipped right in, much like it doesn't do in real life. Alright, so now we just need to mount this thing. It provided plenty of screws. I mean, the bag is huge. I don't feel like I'm going to run out of anything anytime soon. It's actually kind of nice to work in a case this big. I haven't worked in a case this large since I got rid of the Corsair H750, or not H, I'm sorry, the 750D, which by the way was a wonderful case when I had it. That was actually the Disseminator a long time ago, before I got the 2 servers that I rack mounted eventually. So it's kind of nice to have so much space in here, and that's actually one thing I've always liked about, you know, eATX boards or ATX boards in general, is that you just had plenty of room to work. So there's only 3 more standoffs that need to be screwed in, and we will be good to go. Man, this is going flawlessly so far, minus the couple of mistakes I made previously. I really love EGA boards. They're so beautiful, so pretty. I really shouldn't screw these down because, well, I guess it doesn't matter where the motherboard is. All that matters is the pump can reach. So let's go ahead and try and see if this pump reaches or not. And it looks like it does, but only barely. Alright, so moving on. So one thing I really like about the X99 socket is that installing coolers is really simple, because typically you don't have to remove the backplate that comes with the X99 motherboards. Now, some of the problems you have is that, like in this case, these don't actually screw down, so I gotta figure out what Thermaltake provided so I could use the existing backplate. I would be really disappointed if I had to remove it for any reason, because Corsair figured out that you don't have to remove it, obviously, because just you add these in there, your little standoffs, and you're good to go. So hopefully Thermaltake did the same thing, and it looks like they may have, although I'm not quite sure how this is all going to work. I probably should be reading the instructions. So I didn't even notice that my camera ran out of space there, so I had to offload some stuff, and I just continued building anyway, really because I am a little impatient, and, well, maybe not impatient isn't the right word, but I am really excited, so I want to get this done, not because it has to be done by any time, it's just because sheer excitement. I want to see what the final product is like, probably just as much as you guys, probably. So all that's really left to do is should I cover up? Yeah, whatever. We're just gonna cover up the NVMe drive that's in there. I don't think it's gonna matter. Probably pretty good heat dissipation, but whatever. It'll be fine. Everything is fine. It'll be fine. Alright. So, graphics card is installed. Radiator's installed. Everything has power, and hopefully I have plugged in my power and reset switch correctly. It's pretty much the final check. I don't really have much else to plug in, to my knowledge. I don't need any SATA power because I'm using an NVMe drive. I think I'm good to go. But before we can do that, I have to do a test boot to make sure that it actually boots up appropriately. Oh, I may not actually be able to reinstall this bar right here. Oh, looks like I can. That's pretty nifty. Hides the cables a little bit. I still haven't figured out the purpose of this. I'm pretty confident its sole purpose is to provide maybe better stabilization or stability to the chassis itself. It's kind of nice to have on the fact that you can also pick up the chassis from here. Alright, so before we do any final touches, I need to screw down my AX1200i. What did I do with those screws? Oh, wait, what did I do with those screws? Uh-oh. Oh, wait, here they are. I thought I lost them for a moment. Alright, so let's get this taken care of, and we'll be so close to rack mounting this thing. Now, before we stick the server on the rack, we're going to have to make some space here for it. So I think I'm going to move the CyberPower ups even further down, probably all the way to the bottom. And then since the server chassis itself is 4U, it'll probably take up about this much space So this thing will literally finally be full once that thing is on there, which is going to be awesome. So now I just need to get these rails installed, and I think I'll be done with that. I'm probably not going to be able to show this part, primarily because it's going to be hard to maneuver around, and I just kind of want to get this done. Okay, cheers to moving this down another level again for the 10th time this month. I don't know. I feel like I've moved it around a lot unnecessarily. Maybe better planning should come up in the future, so that'll be something I can work on. Exciting, right? I think it is. This is actually a lot of fun for me, despite my serious face, perhaps, or I don't know, canyer, whatever the right word is. Wow, this thing is heavy. Ooh, I really wish somebody else was here. All right, down we go. With little to no bang. Oh goodness, it wants to slide out. What's going on here? Okay, it's stuck. All right, that's fine. Woo. All right. So continue on. So we got the rails installed where they should be, and now all I have to do is put the server chassis right in there, and I think I am pretty much done, assuming everything powers on correctly. All right, here we go. Hopefully this fits. It would be very nice if I had done a test fit initially, but whatever. Okay, this side isn't going in for some reason. Alright, there we go. Maybe I was just misaligned. Alright. And she's all the way in. Perfect. Alright, now for the real test. Does it actually power on? Jesus. Alright, here we go. Power test. Alright. And hopefully it gets video. Okay, well, it's powered up, but I'm having some strange anomalies here. It's going straight into BIOS. Okay, so apparently I cleared all of my BIOS settings when I was, I guess, installing the server chassis. The motherboard. I'm not really sure what happened, but I do know for a fact that I had to redo all my overclocks. I had to redo my memory overclock, pretty much everything, which I guess is okay, but man, like, what the heck happened? So in case you're also wondering what I'm doing, I'm installing fan filters over the fans. Not that I really need them, because this also exists, but I don't really like the way that looks. I mean, it looks okay, but I'm going to remove this door, because I prefer to look, well, actually, with these things on here, it's kind of ugly. I'm not for sure. We'll see what happens. I think I'm going to leave them on there for now, but it looks pretty effing cool without any fan filters definitely over the front of it. But I'm going to have them here anyway, and I actually have to order one more because I only have crap. I only have two. Alright, so as you can tell, the gaming computer is up and running perfectly fine in the server chassis, and it's running Firestrike right now. It seems to be doing a pretty good job. Not sure what the temperatures are like. I'm not going to really get into that either, as much as I'd like to. I just want to go ahead and start playing video games. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.